I have yet to do that. That's the first time I've done that, so thank you. I want to welcome all of you to our board meeting tonight. This is such a privilege for us on the board to see our residents and our youth in action, and what you've done to bring attention to our community is outstanding. And we're here to support you and recognize you tonight. So with that, can you all rise and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Megan, will you call the roll?
Yes. Trustee Lautner?
Here.
Trustee Zara?
Here.
Trustee Council is absent. Trustee Sheehan?
Here.
Trustee Stewart is absent. Trustee Caputo?
Here.
President DeCipio?
Here.
A quorum is present, Mr. President.
And the first item on our agenda tonight is recognizing the achievements of LaGrange Park Little League. So with that, Maggie, would you help? So it's my privilege tonight to have you young men here tonight to recognize your achievements and what you've done to recognize LaGrange Park, but more importantly, to recognize not only your achievements, but of course we didn't do it alone. We have moms and dads and coaches that have helped us along the way, so we're here to recognize them also, because there's nothing more that we have an asset in our village than the youth that are going to live here in the future. So we encourage you to continue your participation in LaGrange Park. Come to our board meetings. I see you're interested already. But we're here for you. We're here to help you recognize and do the things that you need to do to become young adults. So with that, we have two teams tonight that we're recognizing: the Intermediate 50-70 District 9 champions. So I'm going to read your names, and if you would stand up, and if I miss anybody, it's not because I did, it's because it wasn't on here. So first I'm going to start with Sean Adams. Easton Elsvig. Nico Amarati. David Byers. John Flynn. Jack Gaughan. Ben Herget, Ian Krasnowski, Stanley Passarat, Owen Peterson, Jackson Smirt, Emmett Sordil, Will Sorensen, Owen Stevenson, Xavier Suarez. There you go. So whereas the LaGrange Park Little League is celebrating the achievements of two teams comprised of 28 outstanding youth in our community. Whereas LaGrange Park Little League teams to congratulate are the Intermediate 50-70 District 9 champions. Whereas it's fitting that we recognize not only players, but the managers, the coaches, the officials, parents, umpires, and countless others who work together to provide valuable training and life lessons for our participants. I don't have exactly what you guys accomplished except your championship. If I could have one of the coaches maybe come up and give us a brief synopsis of what transpired during your historic... So just give us some tidbits on your historic run.
Okay, historic run. It was the first district championship since 2018 for LaGrange Park. The Intermediate 50-70 here. We played a 3-game series against LaGrange for the championship. We won the first game, lost the second game. Third game, we were down 10-1 in the 5th inning. We came roaring back. There was a home run by Xavier. There was great hits. There was outstanding pitching by Xavier. And there was But there was time. But there was they really came together in those last few innings, pulled out the win, 14-12. So
Congratulations.
then we went to the state tournament. We took third. So.
Well, we now have a taste of what it's like to be a winner, and we're going to go forward next year even further. Xavier, would you come up here a minute, please? I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell me what it was like to hit that won the game.
It's crazy. Just because, like, we were down so much and the energy was down, then once I hit it, everything was up from there.
There you go. That's all it takes. Congratulations. There's the next one, yeah. So we all watched the World Series, the Little League World Series. We saw the final game that Florida won in the last inning. Did everybody see that? Yeah. Pretty exciting. I had dreams of LaGrange Park being in there. So I want those dreams to come true as long as I'm around, okay? All right, next, we've got the 9/11 District 9 champion state runner-up. Go ahead. We've got Cruz Avila, Blake Bolt, Oliver Rosario Coya, Hunter Dortch, Brendan Dwyer, John Gallagher, Parker House, Will Martin, Max Michaels, Everett Navarro, Danny Perlongo, Luke Robinson, and Luke Wittich. So if I could have one of the coaches for this team come up and just give us a quick synopsis on your runner-up. Get up there, Minnie. Come on, Minnie.
Yeah, I'm very proud of these boys. We have our manager, Mike Perlongo, who couldn't be here tonight. He's fishing in Canada right now. So don't forget that, boys. He loves fishing more than you. Our boys played great. They did a really good run in the district play. They went undefeated in the districts, and they all played together very well. It was amazing to see all of them come together as a team in the community as well. Also during our state run, they played incredible. We lost 2 tough games to Naperville, who eventually won the state championship, so we were able to run up behind them. But these boys, they never gave up, and they fought the entire way. And very proud of that, very, very grateful for the community as a whole, because during that state championship game, looking out, and you guys can, agree, it was really cool to see all the people that came out to support, hundreds of people out there, and we're very grateful for that. So, yeah. And I can't forget our other coach, Matt Bolt, either, who's running a little bit late, but it's okay. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right, so on behalf of the village board, the village staff, the residents of our community, we all want to congratulate you for representing LaGrange Park in the manner that you did. We wish you continued success. We want to thank the parents and the coaches that participated in your development through the years and encourage it to continue on, and hopefully we'll be here next year again celebrating another championship. We're going to get a picture, so everybody stay where you're at, okay? Okay. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, so everyone in the room, you have a chance to be in the photo. We want to get the coaches, the team, and the banners in the photo and the proclamation. That looks great. But everyone, all you have to do is just get a little. Okay. You guys look good. Okay, on the count of 3, cheese. Okay, let's do one with the arms in the air. Champions. Yeah, killer season. That looks good. I would like this. Thank you.
Hey, boys.
Okay, I'm done for tonight. We give it at some of those things. That we got this like next line out. We like sitting. Only for them. Probably not enough, right? We'll talk a couple minutes. We'll talk in a couple minutes to get to the forms and everything that we need. Jamie already got it. Show me Jamie already got it. You know the link? Where's Julia? I just have this. Yeah, I just give it Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like this is, we're going to do this all over again.
I know.
When the park district is here.
Okay, that was exciting, huh? All right, so I'm going to take some presidential privilege here, and we're going to move up number 17. My report, discussion and action on the appointments and reappointments for the Youth Commission. I'm going to move that up to right now so that our future Youth Commissioner can get home and do some homework. So with that said, the Youth Commission is comprised of 10 members who serve a 2-year term. Currently, the Youth Commission has 2 vacancies to fill due to recent graduations. The village received several applications for the open positions. The village recommends that the following candidates be appointed to serve on the Youth Commission for the terms detailed in the motions. Mason Nieder White, 7th grade, Park Junior High School, appointment to term September 2026. Queen Tullis, senior, Lyons Township High School, September 2026, appointment to term. So staff recommends that the board affirm President DeCipio's recommendation to appoint the aforementioned individuals to the Youth Commission. With that, I will entertain a motion from the board.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, any comments from the board? Welcome aboard. I'll say some words. So with that, Megan, will you call the roll?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Here, present, yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. With that, I'd like to have Mason stand up. Mason, where are you? Congratulations. We look forward to working with you. I'll get a quick picture. Come on, Mason, we're going to get a picture. Everybody just has to be patient. Come on, big guy. That certainly is one of the privileges of all of us up here, is that we work with not only the residents in our community, but youth like Mason, and we're so blessed to be able to do that. So thank you, Mason. Okay, moving on. We have, additionally, there are 4 members whose terms expire September of 2024. Staff has confirmed their interest in reappointments. James Furlong, term expires September 2024, reappointment to term September 2026. Catherine Suttle, September 2026. Owen Myers, September 2026. And Devin Zander, September 2026. Are any of these individuals here tonight? Well, we will all clap for them anyway. So I'll ask for a motion from the board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. And with that, Mason, you're welcome aboard. Okay, next up, if any of you need to leave, you can leave. Mason wants to stay. Good for you, big guy. Okay, we have a presentation from ISAWWA Water Ambassador Award. Rick? Or JJ?
You want to read the background or no?
You read it? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Michael, give us.
Good evening. My name is Sean.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that.
You want to read it first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Purpose is to receive recognition and a brief update to the village board about the Isawa Water Ambassador Award received this April. General background, the Isawa Water Ambassador Program is an initiative created to elevate public perception, knowledge, and consumer education of the water industry. There are 3 levels of this award: bronze, silver, and gold, which vary to the amount of topics and time put in to the program. We have earned the gold level award, meeting all the required standards plus the elective portions for the 2nd year in a row. Tonight we are joined with members of the Isawa to deliver a short presentation and award to the village with a certificate that will accompany the Water Ambassador street sign. And with that,
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Shauna Richardson. I'm the engagement specialist for the Illinois section of American Waterworks Association. The Illinois section of American Waterworks Association provides resources for education of safe and sustainable water. We have 2,400 members all across the state and 50,000 members in our association globally. As said, the Village of LaGrange Park wins its second annual Gold Level Water Ambassador Award. The Village is one of only 21 Gold Level Water Ambassador Award winners across the entire state of Illinois, so I congratulate you. In recognition for your efforts to elevate public awareness, knowledge, and consumer education for the water industry, thank you for all the work you do to maintain a safe and sustainable water for all. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shonda, thank you so much. I just recognized it, and it's a beautiful saying, what you have on your shirt. I think
Yes.
everybody needs to know this, that there's no water, there's no coffee.
Right. Right. And we have no water, no coffee events, and that's something that LaGrange Park is going to be helping us with in the future, so that we have one-on-one relationships with our consumers, and we can explain the water industry, the processes, and all the hard work that the water operators, engineers, lab technicians, all across the total water industry do for us. And yes, coffee is very important to us. So no water, no coffee. No coffee, no water.
Thank you, Shonda.
No water, no coffee.
We'll be working on a no water, no beer coming to LaGrange Park.
Yes.
And thank you so much, and I also want to thank our Public Works, JJ, Rick, our director. Thank you for all that you do to make us receive these awards. Thank you. Okay, next up we have branding and identity plan progress update.
Okay. Okay. Good evening. My name is John Pobojeski. I'm a partner and design director at SPAN, and we are the visual communications firm working on the brand identity and eventually the streetscape toolkit for the Village of LaGrange Park. And I was asked here to provide a kind of report of our work to date, including our engagement phase, and then where we are so far with our brand identity materials. So here's our agenda for tonight. So I want to talk a little bit about the community engagement that we performed over the month of July. Our conclusions from that engagement sort of came out of that, and then how that started to inform our brand strategy and principles for the visual identity portion, and then present three current directions that we're all considering for the visual identity for the village. So we'll start with the engagement report. So we had two sort of formats for the community engagement. One was an in-person workshop on July 18th of this year. Saw many folks and a few folks in the audience, I think, at that workshop, which I was grateful to see. We had 33 in attendance there, and then 81 online, which took place after that all the way to the end of July for a total of 114 residents engaged. We actually have on the digital version of this PDF a link to all the results online. For those of you who are interested, you can go ahead and check them out. So what did we do on this workshop and online? This was an in-person workshop where people were invited to come and kind of answer some prompts and teach us at SPAN a little bit about you all as a community. Different questions around what it was like to live in the village, what were some of the important historic events about the village, what do you love about living in the village, and so on. And so we asked all these questions here. centered around sort of 3 different areas: community, history and culture, and then of course wayfindings, and that's going to be the second phase of our work. The community questions might ask things like, what do you think is unique about LaGrange Park, and why did you move to LaGrange Park, and what keeps you here? Why have you chosen to stay? History and culture might be, do you know any unique facts? And then wayfinding, some of the basics, right? Any places that you have a hard time finding, so on and so forth. We got a lot of really passionate and very interesting responses. I'm just going to share a couple sample ones here, just in the just for brevity. So, in terms of like, why did you move to LaGrange Park? Lots of people mentioned the forest preserves. Lots of people mentioned how they liked, in direct quote, "I like being around all different people. It's not cookie cutter and there's no competition. Everyone is normal, nice, not snobby. I appreciate the realness of LaGrange Park," end quote. Which I thought was really, just really sweet. Lots of conversations about how open and welcoming everyone is. What makes LaGrange Park unlike other communities? It's where city and forest meet. I stole that. You'll see that in a minute. Cozy tree-lined community with many types of homes, friendly neighbors, chill vibe, friendly neighbors, proximity to downtown LaGrange, et cetera, et cetera. What are some misunderstandings of LaGrange Park? How can a new identity help provide clarity? This was pretty obvious. We got a lot of really great feedback here. People generally think we are a part of LaGrange that is a less fancy version of LaGrange. It's more than just the poor man's LaGrange. We are not LaGrange or its suburb, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, history and culture. What key historic events do you know about LaGrange Park? Not a lot, unfortunately. So we didn't get a lot of like resounding sort of like consensus around the historic events, but we did learn a lot from lots of different folks who contributed little tidbits that I'll share in a minute. And then just sort of like checking our math here. So how do you feel about the current street signage? Boo was a response. It needs an overhaul, it's not attractive, and they're all crumbling, hard to read. Sad. The weird 1970s brutalist concrete posts, etc. So lots of conversations that people are seemingly interested in a change. We also asked a series of questions, some examples. If those who attended the workshop, you saw a bunch of graphs out there where you put dots on your kind of preferences. This was much less clear. So we asked some questions about sort of architectural style, modern versus traditional, minimal versus ornate. What did people like? We kind of got answers all over the map. There wasn't really a sort of like walking away consensus with this. I would say if you squint your eyes a little, it kind of skews towards traditional and maybe towards, kind of the minimal end of the range, but you can see there was really kind of even distribution all the way across. In terms of logos, it was much the same way, where you had kind of a kind of interest in being somewhere between bold and reserved, maybe a little bit towards the minimal, but again, really even distribution all the way across. Color type kind of trended more towards reserved, but again, there was also a lot of votes for colorful. And then in terms of typography, while it looks initially like sans serif was probably, which is, for those of you who don't know fonts, sans serif are the ones without the feet on them. So the letters on the left, like Helvetica, your Arial, those are sans serif. The ones with the serifs are your Times New Roman, etc., to quote the Microsoft Word junkies here in the house. Those are serif fonts. So it was sort of seemed like it was pushing more towards sans, but there were also plenty of votes all the way around as well. There was sort of a trend towards bold, which we thought was interesting. And I think that probably has to do with a lot of the presence of the logo and some of its secondary signage, especially the scripts that say welcome on the banners, being kind of hard to read in their current sort of situation, up high and such. So what conclusions did we take away from this? So, like I was mentioning, we don't really have a clear consensus for aesthetics. However, we did seem to suggest, or the residents did seem to suggest embracing a more understated, the more understated traditional roots of LaGrange Park, while leaving space for modernization. Some residents expressed creating identity with modern elements would help change the perception of LaGrange Park as a home primarily for Caucasian senior citizens, quote, old white people. That it actually can be sort of represent the diverse audience that you currently have, the diverse population that you currently have. Another clear consideration, we ain't LaGrange. While residents greatly enjoy LaGrange's downtown, obviously there was a big desire, almost unanimous, to try to make themselves very distinct from LaGrange. So we took that to heart. You're going to see in the visual presentations lots of sort of peer presentation where we're putting it next to LaGrange and making sure that we aren't too close. And I think we've done a solid job of that. We love our forest preserves. Over and over and over we heard. Residents greatly associate their life and choice to live in LaGrange Park to the forest preserves. They see them as a third space where they can build relationships with their neighbors and other members of the community. We also learned that the LaGrange Park is surrounded on the forest preserves on 3 sides, which is kind of an interesting thing. You can kind of feel that. I felt that just coming here from 294. You kind of drive through this sort of blanket of trees to get to the downtown. Our roots are in our green spaces. A lot of the memories that we heard from from the community engagement came from both historical and current events were tied to nature, parks, the forest preserves themselves, and so on. And it also there was lots of conversation about the importance of nature and sustainability in the community and how important that is, which we thought was very important. Our neighbors are like family. The community is multi-generational. Lots of conversations around neighborly spirit, how people saw their neighbors as family, and that there's really a lively and communal spirit amongst the village, which we heard again over and over again. We're a village of vibrant voices. There's a misconception that we were told that LaGrange Park is perceived as being older and exclusively white. And when in reality, it's actually quite diverse with a lot of younger families, lots of different viewpoints, and very tolerant and accepting. And we thought that was something that we definitely needed to start to reflect in the branding materials and the identity. While there wasn't a lot of, oh, hey, we know a ton about history from the community that we surveyed, we did find a lot of some really interesting facts that we didn't know that we thought were really interesting. That, for example, LaGrange Park was started by 5 families, around 5 farming families, that it's surrounded by forest preserves on 3 sides, which I mentioned. That there was a Village of Roses, which was a play about the events leading up to the establishment of LaGrange Park, and it also comes from the Rose Show that was previously held here. That you all had over 150 block parties in a single year, which is pretty amazing. That's one block party for every 80 people, which is way more block parties than I've ever been to in any of the communities that I've ever lived in my life, which is pretty cool. There used to be a trolley line that ran through LaGrange Park, which is pretty cool, and so on. So the historical stuff, while not sort of overwhelmingly in terms of conclusiveness, was inspiring to us, and we sort of took that to heart. So what comes next? After we took care of the engagement, we kind of came to our conclusions. It was time for us to start our brand strategy and principles. So when we're kind of creating a model for what this is, for those of you who are unfamiliar, basically what we're trying to create here is a verbal voice for the kind of the identity of the village, right? So what are words that sort of describe life in LaGrange Park? What is an overall ethos that kind of expresses that brand? What's the voice and tone, and what are some traits? And what we do is we start on the left, kind of finding those words, defining the traits of the personality of the brand and the principles that sort of reinforce that. And then eventually, in the later phases, which we'll do after we start to get a census of the visual identity that we're going to choose moving forward, we'll start to develop that into an ethos and a voice and tone that will allow for example, when you're writing copy on a banner or creating something sort of out in the community to help promote life in LaGrange, or maybe even something for, even to sort of talk about it from a tourist standpoint, if that's something that's of interest. This document that we'll put together will help you create that. That's one of the things that we're creating on this. If any of you are sort of traditional marketing folks in the house, this is a little different than a traditional brand strategy process. Some folks might be like, where's our tagline? We're not big as a studio on believing in defining a single tagline for a municipality, right? There's lots of different types of people that live here. We're not developing a product. We're not selling Coke. We don't need sort of one sort of statement that summarizes everything. that is sort of like an end-all be-all for everyone to gravitate towards. So we kind of push away from those some of those conventions in terms of marketing, and we're much more interested in kind of defining a kind of spirited set of language that can be used in lots of different ways. So how did we start to develop that? Well, we started with the respondents' text themselves. We generated a word cloud. If anyone was around in the 90s, they might remember this. You basically, like, sort of the words that are bigger are the ones that came up the most often. And then we started to sort those into a lexicon. So these were kind of the words that we heard a lot in those statements and that we thought were really interesting. And then we kind of categorized them into 5 different buckets. So community, friendly, safe, warm, inviting, open, comfortable. Nature, natural, green, tranquil, peaceful, tree-lined, and beautiful. Scale, small, close-knit, bikeable, walkable. Vibe, casual, active, easy, relaxed, joyful, and cozy. Location, convenient, connected, accessible. And from that, we derive some brand traits, and that helps us kind of figure out where we're going to go in terms of describing the sort of feeling of the brand as we move forward. So we kind of define that in 4 ways. 1, unpretentious. It seemed to us that LaGrange Park doesn't have a chip on its shoulder. Neighborly. LaGrange Park's neighbors are more like family. Outdoorsy. LaGrange Park celebrates the outdoors on foot, bike, or blanket. To toss in the recreation there. Unique. LaGrange Park is filled with personality. And so that sort of led us to sort of define out of that our 6 brand principles. And this is going to start to kind of create the foundation of the Grange Park brand. So those are a village of vibrant voices. We cherish the different viewpoints within our small town across our people, places, and ideas. A community of neighbors. Our neighbors are like family. We love to come together to lend a hand or to celebrate. Rooted in nature. We are where city and forest meet, woven with tree-lined streets, forest preserves, and bike trails. Built with character. We're proud of our unique neighborhood homes, from traditional to modern and everything in between. Focused on family. With safe streets and great schools, our small town is home to generation after generation. And 20 minutes from anywhere. We are well connected, just a short car or train ride to downtown Chicago, O'Hare, and Midway. So from those sort of principles that we started to talk about as an internal team, we started to identify identity directions. And this is where we start to get the pictures going and stop talking about the words so much. So we have 3 directions to talk about today. And I'm going to do them just in sequence, in no particular order. So the first is Village of Roses. So certainly the history of the village and its association with the rose was something that we just couldn't ignore. So we wanted to start with that. And there was obviously a rose kind of insignia. You can kind of see it down there at the bottom. Just hold that space. That's coming back in a minute. That we thought, okay, well, there's already this rose in play. Let's see what we can do with it. We've also been looking a lot at barns. LaGrange means the barn. And the village was founded by a farming community. So we were thinking about it kind of as a point of departure. And we started to come across this sort of principle of barn quilts and this idea of quilting as a kind of metaphor for community. And we thought, what if we could take a rose and kind of turn it into a quilt, kind of create this kind of patchwork from that would help kind of be a visual metaphor for everyone coming together and sort of contributing a piece towards that. So once again, if anyone's familiar with the signage that runs up and down LaGrange Road and up and down 31st Street, that little rose insignia is there. I missed it the first 20 times I saw it too, so if that's the first time you've ever seen it, don't feel bad. It's also down in concrete down at the bottom in kind of sculpted relief. So we started with that, and then we started to take it and just kind of put it through our drill of visual refinements, and we started to kind of end it up with this item down here in the lower right. And that becomes kind of our quilt rose that sort of speaks to the same geometry. It's used a lot in quilting and community building and was kind of inspired by that barn piece. And we also wove in kind of a collage of houses around it as well. So it becomes this abstract rose that also sort of has woven within it some different metaphors. And so you put that together with type and you get this very modern looking rose. It has the rose, but it's also, feels like it's has something that is somewhat forward-looking as well. We're imagining you're going to see in all of these a kind of collage of different use cases of the logo. So rather than having one logo that's there all the time, the logo can be in different configurations so that it can work best wherever it needs to be. If it needs to be skinny and tall like a banner, we can use that version. If it needs to be tall and long and formal for a official village letterhead, we can use that version. We saw the monograms on the t-shirts tonight for the 2 winning baseball teams. I swear I never saw those before, but you're going to see those again because we did that exact same thing in all 3 of these, so which was pretty funny to me. Color palette here, the screen's not a great representation of it, but basically it's sort of all derived from the rose. We have a strong red as a very thin accent, using sparingly a dark green that also sort of speaks to the forest preserves, a purple as well, and some secondary colors. And so you can kind of imagine how it might be used on a business card, for example. On a formal letterhead for right there. And you can see both versions of the logo together. On a polo t-shirt, like what Joe's wearing right now, for example. On a kind of new series of banners that might start to be used throughout the village, which I think are going to be very important, actually, considering LaGrange Road and its access point. And then possibly even on some welcome signs, or maybe even on a bicycle pedestrian wayfinding system concept that we might put forward. So again, here's that concept, surrounded by piers, with LaGrange on the right, Brookfield on the left, our sort of closest neighbors there, just to kind of give you a sense of how it feels different, but also sort of, it feels distinctive, but also I feel like at home within the community of those. So that was concept 1 of 3. How am I doing on time? Okay. Concept 2, 5 families canopy. So again, over and over, we heard a lot about the forest preserves. It's this incredible natural asset, sort of like the natural geographic asset that LaGrange Park has. How can we represent that as kind of a foundation for the brand? And so for this one, we kind of come up with a what we're calling the 5 families leaf. So it's a leaf with 5 lobes, together here with the type that's shown. Each lobe is sort of derived from a different family that founded LaGrange Park. And that leaf can be used in collage form, kind of playing with positive and negative space to sort of create this expression of a canopy that can actually sort of start to surround the logo on 3 sides in the different configurations that exist. Here's a kind of sort of image that kind of mimics that, where we were sitting on Salt Creek, the Salt Creek Bridge when we took that picture. This color palette right now, we're just kind of playing around with something that's a little bit more green and monotone with a couple accents. On the business card, you can see sometimes the logo, the little leaf mark can be used kind of separately and it can be very quiet. Sometimes it can be enlarged and kind of create more of a pattern or a texture, which gives it a lot of flexibility. Here it is on the banner system. A potential welcome sign on the wayfinding. And here kind of combined with the peer group as well. So that's our second concept. Our third concept also sort of comes derived from the trees and the forests with the oak leaf. Again, kind of inspired by these farming roots. What can we do looking at typography and sort of structure from that original time period, and then pair that with something that again comes from us from our forest preserves. And we came up with this concept, which has a modern take on a typeface that was drawn around the same time period as when the village was founded. So it has that historic quality, but it's also kind of paired with a this kind of armature, the structure that's sort of derivative of some of that farming architecture. And then behind it, we have this lovely illustration of oak leaf that my designer Valeria drew. And it's sort of paired in different configurations. This one we're kind of exploring, bringing in a little bit of the sky, a little bit of the fall colors as sort of accents, in addition to that base of dark green. And that little armature becomes a real nice kind of framework for pictures you can use in the on the banners, excuse me. The welcome sign, experimenting with just materiality here. How it might be used on the wayfinding and then amongst the piers. So to recap, we have our 3 different versions here, which I'm looking forward to hearing feedback on. But just to give you a sense, that's where we are sort of to date. What are our steps in our process? So tonight, welcome any feedback from anyone or refinements that they think is needed on any or all the concepts. We're then going to present those refinements on all the concepts to the CRC for their recommendation, which they would then present back to the board for approval for the final sort of identity. And then SPAN will take that approval and the identity and develop the Streetscapes toolkit for our second phase of work.
Thank you, John. We're going to get some feedback now.
Yeah, be great.
Great presentation. I know Maggie's done a lot with you and all the other staff members that have helped with this. I'm just going to make one comment. We want something different, we want something unique, we want something for Grange Park to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, I don't know about how the board feels. I don't know about LA and then Grange, 2 separate lines.
Oh, okay.
It's new, so it's something that we're going to have to look at and get used to if we decide we want to do that. But I'm going to start off with Trustee Zora here. She's our eyes and ears here. So
I wasn't quite ready, but thank you. So, I mean, just at first glance, because it's the first time I've seen this, my favorite, I think, is the second option, but I also really like the first. For some reason, the third, I like it, but I don't think it represents us as much as the other two, because I feel like there's community in the first option, and then the second option has examples of the founding members of the town, so I think that's nice for the historical part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the separation of the and Grange doesn't bother me. I feel like it does kind of create more of a differentiator between us and LaGrange.
That's why you're the architect.
The only thing with the second one, I kind of want to see other fonts, but otherwise, I mean, I think both of them are nice. But again, I just looked at these, so those are my comments for right now. Thank you.
Yep.
Trustee Laudner?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would certainly concur with Trustee Czar relative to the third approach. I think it looks back rather than forward. Not that our history isn't important. I'm just saying I think we want to be more forward-looking, more forward-thinking, and the first and second, I think, do a better job at that. I'm going to want to let this kind of sink in, absorb, and think about. I do concur with your comments about separating the LaGrange. I don't think that really gets across what we want to get across. But a lot of information I just want to think about more. But I do concur that I don't think the third approach is in thinking with where I think we want to go forward with.
Thank you, Trustee Laudner. Trustee Caputo?
Thank you, President DeCipio. I'm with our other 2 trustees so far. I don't like the third option. Sorry,
Okay.
no disrespect to anybody who designed it. I do like the first 2 options. Maybe I'd like to see a little tweaking of the rows. I kind of feel like it's almost too big. Maybe it needs an adjustment to the size. It looks like it's taken. I mean, we want to see it. Maybe I don't know if maybe making it a little more bolder red might. I know you want to maybe have it subtle, but I don't know. I'd like to maybe see an option of how it looks with a little bolder of the font on that. I kind of like the setup with the 3-tiered font on the 3 lines versus the LaGrange together. Again, first and second option are my first 2, but I don't know if I'm sold on one more than the other at this point, but definitely more so than the third one.
Okay.
That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Trustee Caputo. Trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'm pretty much on board with everybody up here. I like the first one. I like the incorporating the rows and then also the houses in there. That's pretty cool. I kind of agree now, thinking about it with trustee Caputa about maybe downsizing that font. I think that'd be a good idea. I like number 2, but I don't know, first thought of looking at it, don't laugh, it reminded me of a cannabis leaf.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we would want it on, but I mean, maybe we could tweak it. I like the tribute to the 5 families, but it's how it struck me first. But that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Julia or Maggie, any input?
I don't have anything to add, but to just say thank you for the feedback, because staff has been reviewing with SPAN over the last several weeks, and I was most excited, I think, to hear the brand principles, because it made me feel like SPAN has been working with us for much longer than they actually have. I thought that just nailed it. And it's just a great time to get this feedback on the identity directions. It's going to really inform our next steps, and we look forward to bringing some refinements to the Commercial Revitalization Committee.
Thank you, Maggie. Julia?
I agree with what Maggie said. I think the brand principles and the feedback that we received from the community through the process, whether it's the survey or the open house, was really key to the development of these designs. And so I think we have a great foundation. The feedback from the board is so helpful, so important. When you're looking at these designs over and over again, you wonder to what extent your impression of them, whether it changes over time, how accurate it is. So it's always good to get a fresh look from a new set of eyes. So any feedback that you have after this presentation certainly is absolutely welcomed, and we appreciate that. Also, if you have any feedback with regard to any of the color schemes, I know that the community and the feedback that we received was such that more muted colors were preferred, or colors found in nature were preferred. If you have any feedback on that regard, whether it's the design, the font, the boldness, or the colors, any of that is certainly appreciated. But thank you for reviewing this with us this evening.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, John, next steps?
Next steps are to take the refinements back to the committee. They'll make a recommendation, and that's when you'll see it next. All right.
Great, and please tell us, ma'am, and everybody that worked on our project, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have public participation. And I need to ask you guys for some leeway here. We have 2 parts to the public conversation and participation on tonight's meeting. One is for the agenda-related items, and at the end of the meeting is for non-agenda related items. Unfortunately, you were given some misinformation from whoever that we were going to talk about the Park District and the monies that they're requesting from us and how we were going to further that along. That's not going to happen until September 24th. We're going to have our TIF attorney here. We're going to go through what we can and can't do because there's a lot of legal restrictions involved, but that's when the discussion is going to happen there. I don't know who informed you that tonight we're going to talk about the Park District. That's not the case, and I apologize for you taking time out, but I am going to honor somebody that wants to speak and keep it brief, because you're going to get, I want you to come back to the September 24th meeting when it's pertinent. We have a lot on our agenda tonight. It's going to filter through like water over rocks, so we're not really going to dive into it tonight. So I hope that you come back and give us your concerns. With that, I have some young residents here that are waiting up. They want to go home and do their homework, but they're waiting here because they want to speak to us. And I have one gentleman, Jacob, right here, and then there's a couple other young residents here that would like to speak. I want them to come up first, and I want them to give us their presentation here. And if any adult wants to give us 30 seconds or a minute quick synopsis of what your concerns are, we can do that very quickly. But the most of your conversations, I hope you hold till when it's pertinent, when we discuss it at the September 24th meeting. So if everybody's okay with that, I'm going to ask our young residents to please come up to the mic, introduce yourselves, and then give us your concerns.
Yeah, if we can keep it to a minute, 2 minutes each, that would be great.
So should I start? Hi, my name is Jane Fadul, and I'm really glad to be here today. I'm excited to talk about a cool idea for making the LaGrange Park District an even better place for all of us. Instead of using all our funds to fix up the streets, let's think about something that can make a big difference for everybody. How about we invest in a big new addition to our park district? This expansion would include a fantastic new gym, an awesome stage, and a playground on the roof. As a member of Footlight Players, I know how amazing it would be to have our own stage. We would have to rent a stage every performance, which can be expensive. With our stage, we could save money and use it to make our shows even better. But it's not just about the Footlight Players. The new gym would be great for lots of activities, like karate class, Nerf wars, and so many more. This means that there would be plenty of space for everyone to join in on these fun activities and have more classes. Plus, preschoolers would have a wonderful space to enjoy too. By investing in this new gym and stage, we're not just adding new features, we're creating a place where everyone can have fun and stay active all year round. Let's use the funds to make this exciting addition a reality, and let's make the LaGrange Park District a super fun place for everyone. Thank you so much for your support and helping us bring this great idea to life.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jude Mason, a Footlight player and LaGrange Park resident. A few days ago, I heard we can't use Park Junior High as our stage. It's sad. I made a lot of memories at Park Junior High. It's a commitment to be in a musical, and a very time-consuming one at that. The people you perform with become part of a family. And I am very sad my performance family has lost a stage. I'm a fifth grade student at Brook Park, and I know I have more performances with Footlight to come. Getting TIF money from the village would help my Footlight family to have a stage moving forward. And in closing, the show must go on.
Hello, my name's Danny Callahan, and I will be discussing the TIF allocations in Articles 3 and 4. Thank you so much for your consideration for funding the expansion. I've been in Footlight Players for 8 years now. I started when I was 8 years old, and my brother joined because of inspiration. And many other people I know have joined because everybody loves the Footlight Players. They bring so much to the team and the table. And we have 3 amazing directors, Spencer, Cole, and Michelle, and they're always hardworking, and they never want to give up. I know how great it would be to have a stage of our own. The Footlight Players in the Community Park District of LaGrange paved the way for my love of acting, and it's my wish that our opportunity continues for many generations to come. And in order for that to happen, we need a bigger and better space of our own. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Leah Halverson, and we want the trustees to consider funding for a Park District stage expansion, or the TIF funding Articles 3 and 4. I live in LaGrange Park, and thank you for letting me speak here tonight. I started at the Park District by doing the Dance Express program at 4 years old, and then a couple years later, I joined the Footlight Players theater program. And that was in 4th grade. I'm in 7th grade now, and I'm continuing to do both of those programs. Both of these programs mean so much to me, and they've really shaped the person I am today. And they helped me find my true passion, which is singing, dancing, and acting. Performing on stage is the culmination of working so hard for months throughout the year, and finally getting to showcase all of our hard work and dedication through a production. And we do that through a production like on the stage, and it would mean the world to us to have a stage of our own at the Park District, because we can access it whenever we need it. It would be great to be able to get there earlier to work on the set and the artwork and practice our blocking and staging for the show. I imagine not only our programs, but other programs in the Park District would benefit really well from a new stage, because I know me and my family do a lot of programs through the Park District. And having a stage would really help not only these 2 programs, but the other programs as well. Once again, I thank you for your time, and I hope you take my words into consideration.
Hi, I'm Griffin Ritter, and I think that having a place dedicated to musical arts would mean the world to children like me who like to perform. And it would just be amazing if we could get something like that.
So I just want to commend the 5 of you for coming here tonight, getting up in front of the board and speaking what concerns you and what's of concern to you in our village. And we will do everything possible to look at your requests. We're not going to do we'll do a monetary, hopefully we're looking at a monetary, but we're not going to say we're going to donate a stage or anything. That's up to the park district to do that kind of stuff. All we can do is see what we can give as far as support to your project. But I commend the young kids who came up tonight and voiced their concerns, and I urge you to continue to do that and join our youth commission too. You guys are fit for it. You really are. Any adults, now that the adults are up, anyone want to say a quick something on the park district's behalf, since that's why you're here? Okay, thank you.
I'd like to speak to the park district on agenda items 3.
Hold on one second, please. Get up to them. Hold up 1 second. Give us your name.
My name's Sarah Earhart. I'm a resident of LaGrange Park, so TIF funding does concern me directly, both as a resident and as a proud employee of the park district, and I love my job here. And to your point, President DeCipio, that funding for the gym is not related to other TIF funding, I would have to beg to differ. It's been brought to my attention that this is coming from the same pool of TIF funding, so these would be integrally related. So as you consider future projects in addition to HOP District, which I think is a worthy TIF project, please consider the gym for these children too. Thank you.
Anyone else care to address the board? Mr. Vitale, do you care to present now, please? I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Don't want to get in the way of anybody talking about the park district. Fair enough. My name is Jason Vitale. I'm the president of the Brookfield LaGrange Park Lions Club. Over the years, we've given money to the park district with the pickleball court, and through some of the information provided by the branding commission, I just want to say that you do have lifelong residents that continue to work for the village, such as President DeCipio, Director Ratty, and myself over the years. So you've got that continuity. I just want to make it clear that everyone is trying to row in the same direction here. Let's all keep that in mind. In that spirit, Brookfield LaGrange Park over the years has provided funding for the village for various things that fall in line with the ideals of Lionism. And we've got, again, over the years and decades, several members of the village board were past members of the Lions Club. Trustee Sheehan, one, former village clerk Carrie Burnett, former trustee Tom Hurley, his current member. So just to say that the goals of Lions Club International are to create and foster a spirit of understanding among the peoples of the world, promote the principles of good government and good citizenship, which we're seeing here tonight. The Brookfield LaGrange Park Lions Club call to action is help us help others. And with this declared mission to provide service and support, our goals include our community, our environment, and those with hearing and vision needs. So I'd like to ask Director Ratty to join me up here so I can present to the Public Works Department a check for $900 for the dedication of trees throughout the village. And if you're open to it, we'd like to come back quarterly and meet or exceed that, this being our past 75th year of existence for our club. Thank you.
Jason, please extend our sincere appreciation to your club and for all the work that was involved in getting this, and for past donations that you've given us to continue the forestry in LaGrange Park. Thank you. Anyone else want to present to the board before we move on? Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes. Those that want to go can leave now if you like, or you can sit and stay and listen to the rest of it. Thank you. Okay, next up we have consent agenda. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. President. The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes, 1 Village Board meeting, July 23rd, 2024. B, action, accounts payable and payroll summary, motion 1, to authorize the president and chairperson of the Finance Committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks and payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. And motion 2, to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and the next village board meeting, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its next meeting.
Motion to approve a consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. We'll move on to village manager's report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I have just 2 items to report on this evening. The first is regarding a couple of grants that the village has recently received. Later on this evening, you will hear a report by the Commercial Revitalization Committee regarding these 2 grants. I just wanted to recognize staff for their work on receiving these grants, because a great deal of work went into each of them. We received a $175,000 grant from Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways as part of the Invest in Cook grant program. This is for LaGrange Road traffic safety improvements. As we went through the village market streetscape improvement plan and that process with the community, if one thing became clear above all is that the residents are looking for traffic safety improvements, and that includes pedestrian improvements for increased connectivity through the community. Secondly, in that report, we will hear that we received a grant in the amount of $180,000 from IDOT for the 31st Street Corridor Transportation Plan. Again, more information forthcoming. I'd like to thank Derek and Maggie for their excellent work on the 31st Street Corridor Transportation Plan grant and their terrific work with regard to the LaGrange Road traffic safety and improvements. Derek and Maggie were involved in that, as was Rick and Mark. So we thank these folks for their work on these grant applications. The second item I wanted to report on was something that the village put out in social media this week, and that's regarding the improvements at the Jewel parking lot. This week, there are a number of improvements occurring in the parking lot over at Jewel. So we put out a social media post to let folks know that construction will be going on throughout the week, weather permitting. I had a pretty good idea how we would end up by Friday until the rain this evening. So I'm not quite sure. The plan was to complete all of the pavement improvements by the end of this week. So I think we can anticipate maybe that will continue on through next week. Also, we confirmed with Albertsons, the owner of Jewel, that they will be looking to make interior improvements to the store, hopefully starting this fall. So with that, that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, moving on to Administration Committee. Trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, if I can I, as a past office holder and longtime Brookfield LaGrange Park Lions Club member, that was a big deal tonight. Thank you for coming out and doing that. That $900 with the tree population that we're losing goes a long way. So you and the people at the club, the other club members, thank you. Means a lot. Thank you, Mr. President. Administration report, save the date. The village's annual fall cleanup day will take place on Saturday, October 12th. Eligible residents must purchase 5 refuse stickers from the village and place their items at the curb by 6 a.m. Visit the village's website for more information and a list of acceptable items. Just a reminder, village offices will be closed on Monday, September 2nd in observance of Labor Day. Regular office hours will resume on Tuesday, September 3rd at 9 a.m. Next, we have an action item, mobile food vendor regulations. The purpose is to review and approve an ordinance regulating mobile food vendors in the village. General background, the village occasionally receives requests for the operation of food trucks in the village. Currently, there is no ordinance or other codified regulations regarding the operations of these vendors. Village staff has been handling these requests on a case-by-case basis without a formal process in place. In order to consistently regulate all mobile food vendors and ensure public health and safety rules are being followed, staff has prepared the attached ordinance. The proposed ordinance requires mobile food vendors to apply for and obtain a license from the village, establishes an annual $50 license fee, and includes standards for where mobile food vendors can be located. Staff also created a corresponding mobile food vendor license application, which requires applicants to provide information regarding insurance, state sales tax ID, and health inspection approval records. This ordinance incorporates the village's existing code regulations related to ice cream trucks and the existing exemption for delivery vehicles from establishments already licensed and inspected as a food dealer / restaurant, also pizza delivery vehicle or similar. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance to the regulation of mobile food vendors. Therefore, Mr. President, at this time, make a motion to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 116 of Title 11 of the Municipal Code regarding mobile food vendors.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion, Trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. As these vehicles and mobile food trucks become more popular, staff has done a great job in getting something down in paper, establishing the rules and regulations and guidelines, so it's a win-win.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Any comments from the board? Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just real quickly, and I too am happy to see that we've got some process in place. Do you feel that the $50 annual fee is going to appropriately recover your expenses in doing this, at least as a starting point?
Yes, we do. And we did look at a lot of examples in other communities in terms of their regulations and applications and fees, and also discuss staff's time in handling these requests. I think having this ordinance will drastically reduce the amount of staff time since we were handling kind of on a case-by-case basis prior to this. But it does seem appropriate.
Any other comments? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Moving on to Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zora?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report the building department activities for July 2024. 77 building permits were issued compared to 85 in July 2023. As of July, the pace of permit submittals year to date is slightly less than the pace of submittals at this time last year. Estimated construction costs for the month were just over $1.4 million, which is more than the $1.2 million that was realized in July of 2023. Permit fees collected last month equalized just over $27,000, which was more than the $24,000 of permit fees collected in July 2023. 148 building inspections were conducted this past month, compared to 217 in 2023. One was not approved. Total of 23 new code enforcement cases were recorded last month. 2 of those projects were closed out, and the remaining 21 cases required further code enforcement action. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. I'm going to get you again. Engineering capital projects?
Sure, yes, sorry. Okay, the capital and engineering projects for July 2024. Construction has continued on the Edgewood and Richmond water main project. Unique Plumbing has installed all water mains and transferred all water services onto the new water main. Restoration of sidewalk and driveways has begun, as well as the preparation of areas for landscape restoration. It is anticipated that the concrete work will be completed in August and placement of sod will occur after Labor Day. The work is on schedule and anticipated to be completed within the time allowed. The bid opening for Park Road Improvement Project is scheduled for 10 a.m. on August. It was scheduled for 10 a.m. on August 8th, with recommendation for the award plan for the August Village Board meeting. The work will improve the 500 block of park. The projected project schedule has work beginning in September and being completed by mid-November. The construction of the NWRD Green Infrastructure Alley project began on July 8th. All sewer work, excavation, and placement of aggregates has been completed. Bedrock was encountered on Blanchard Avenue, which required its removal to be able to install the sewer, which added time to complete the sewer work. The placement of the concrete is scheduled for the first week of August, and the installation of the permeable pavers following shortly after. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Moving on to Public Safety Committee, Trustee Caputo.
Thank you, President DeCipio. First of all, I'm going to go over the Police Department Summary Activities Report for July of 2024. In addition to the attached statistical summaries, the following items are being reported to apprise the Village President and Board of Trustees on current Police Department operations through the month of July 2024. The total number of crimes this year are 32% lower than last year at this time, with 138 reported this year compared to 191 last year. Traffic enforcement is at 2,820 total tickets issued through July of 2024. Overall police activity is slightly higher to last year, with 1,216 total incidents reported in the month of July of 2024 compared to 1,027 total incidents in July of 2023. Of those 1,216 total incidents, 51 were assist to the fire department, 246 were self-initiated building or park checks, 282 were traffic stops, and 29 were closed home checks. Officer Weber and Armenta received certification as drone pilots and will now assist Sergeant Griffin with the department drones. Department members took part in 127.5 hours of training throughout the month of July 2024, along with the Lexipol daily training bulletins and Police Law Institute training. The police department received accreditation through the Illinois Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. Police department staff attended multiple block parties throughout the month. The police department welcomed Matthew Pinchikny to its team. Officer Pinckney will attend the 16-week police academy at the College of DuPage starting August 26. Welcome, Officer Pinckney. Please follow the police department on our Facebook page of LaGrange Park Police Department, our Twitter account at LaGrange Park PD, and Instagram at LaGrange Park PD. A friendly reminder about securing one's personal property at all times. Please lock your vehicles and residence, especially during overnight hours. If you are going on vacation, please utilize the new online vacation watch portal, frontlinepps.com/LaGrange Park, or log onto the village website and access the portal under the police department page. If you do not have access to internet access, feel free to fill out a vacation watch card at the police department between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. And please contact me if you have any additional questions or information. That concludes the police report. Next report is going to be the fire department report. One second. Sorry, give me a second here. Okay, so this is for fire activities of July 2024. As requested for insertion to the village board meeting agenda packet, the following is a brief summary of the fire department activity for the month of July. As usual, there is a comprehensive monthly report that's kept within the department for review. EMS incidents this month equaled 159. There have been 1,110 year-to-date, compared to 1,070 year-to-date in 2023. Fire rescue incidents this month were 69. There have been 372 year-to-date compared to 324 year-to-date in 2023. Multiple interviews and assessment exercises were completed for the PT Fire Administrative Assistant applications. Following additional staff discussion and consideration, Kelly Rafferty was offered and took the position. We welcome her in early August and look forward to her being a great addition to our staff. Sorry, I lost my page here. 1 second. Sorry about that. Hold on. Okay, the department provided an ambulance in chief to assist the Chicago Fire Department during the Pride Parade. As part of a monthly training, personnel conducted pre-incident training for the LaGrange Park Antique Mall. Various personnel also completed their annual driving course training. Fire prevention staff completed fire alarm, sprinkler, and occupancy inspections for pillars. Personnel provided 2 pop-up splash pads events for the Park District, one at Robin Hood and one at Stowe Monroe Park. Final grant application materials for our Fire Station 2 roof project were completed and submitted to DCEO. The overall review may take several months. Personnel staff Fire Station 2 while Harding was completely closed at the IHB due to a tree work project. And the fire prevention followed up with Park Home Cemetery, as an above ground tank was installed without village or OSFM permits. The permits have now been obtained and the property owner is working to comply with OSFM requirements. I have a couple quick incidents to share. On Thursday, July 11th at 10:20 a.m., the ambulance responded to a woman in a car in a distress at 31st and Kemen. After assessing the scene, it was discovered she was carrying large amounts of dry ice in her vehicle and actually was being asphyxiated by the carbon dioxide. And on Sunday, July 14th at 10:19 p.m., the fire department began responding to various storm calls, 6 in LaGrange Park and 2 in Brookfield. Overnight, the fire department was called for a burning tree and wires dropping embers onto a shed in the 600 block of Beach. The NWS later stated an EF-0 tornado passed through the southeast corner of the village. That concludes that report. I have one more item on my agenda, and the next topic for discussion is stormwater submersible pumps. The purpose is to approve the purchase of 2 new submersible Zoller stormwater pumps with control panel for the Village Hall complex. Recently, staff became aware that 2-wheel pumps that control the ejection of stormwater from the pit in the basement are seized. The floats are engaged with no water being ejected from the stormwater pit. An electrician was summoned to make sure that the control panel had electricity, which it did. Staff then contacted multiple companies, and only 2 companies returned calls and came out to assess the issue. Both concurred that the pumps are seized and needed replacement. Our current pumps are original to the building and have a build date of 1975, 49 years ago. Both companies stated that these pumps far exceeded their normal lifespan. The stormwater pit has 2 pumps that alternate each time they are operational. With these pumps not functioning, stormwater is stagnant in the drain tile around the building, and the longer it is stagnant, the more susceptible we are to foundation leakage and seepage. The replacement of this stormwater system includes 2 pumps as well as the control panel. Premistar provided a proposal with Weil pumps and control panel, while Holt Plumbing provided a proposal with Zoller pumps and control panel. While the Weil pumps would have a similar setup with exposed motors that would require bi-yearly maintenance, the Zoller pumps are completely submersible in a sealed cast iron corrosion resistant housing which require minimal to no maintenance. The Premistar provided a proposal of $42,254, while Holt Plumbing provided a proposal for $32,765. The recommendation is, after evaluation and considering, the staff recommends entering into an agreement with Holt Plumbing in the amount of $32,765 to replace the inoperable stormwater pump in the village hall basement. This item is up for discussion, and the motion is to approve the proposal from Holt Plumbing in the amount of $32,765 with a not to exceed amount of $37,000 to cover the electrical connections, and second, to authorize the village manager to execute the necessary documents.
Second. Motion and second, discussion, trustee Caputo.
Well, we all know that water can be very evil at times, and seeing that the age of these pumps is from 1975 and we got as many years as we did out of this, we're very lucky that we don't have any major water issues in our building or surrounding areas, and I feel this is necessary because the problem with the amount of water we're getting lately with some of these storms and other things could exceed way more than a $32,000 fix, so I'm in favor of making this replacement.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, trustee Caputo.
Thank you. That concludes my summary.
Okay, moving on, Public Works Committee, trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Monthly report for July. Staff repaired one water main break this month, replaced a 1-inch lead water service line. A pressure reducing valve was repaired, and our connection with the Water Commission. DPW continued water line surveys with residents by hand delivering notices and scheduling appointments to inspect water meters and service line material. The brush collection program continued and will continue through the first full week of each month through October. Hydrant flushing was completed in the center section and has continued to the east side of town. Tree removals were completed by staff and contractors and will continue through the year. Multiple severe storms affected our area in July. A special brush collection was performed to pick up debris from residents. Our staff also assisted the village of Broadview with the collection of storm damage for one day. All staff completed computer-based training for phishing and email scams. Street patches were completed along with parkway restorations. GIS work has continued collecting data on village-owned assets, along with continued training throughout the village. Water meters were read in Section 1. 15 monthly water bacterial samplers were taken, along with Stage 2 DBP samples. Various water and sewer work orders were completed, along with resident tree concerns and general construction inquiries. Routine maintenance to the department's fleet and equipment was completed, as well on police and fire vehicles. Next, we have the residential electric aggregation program extension. The purpose is to approve a residential electrical aggregation contract with the Village of LaGrange Park. General background: at the September 13, 2022 Village Board meeting, the Village Board approved a 2-year extension with MC Squared to provide electrical aggregation to our residents. The current contract is expiring in November. Sharon Derling from Illinois Aggregation Consultants is soliciting bids to provide our residents with renewable energy. Due to commodity fluctuation, bids are due the morning today and are at our dais at our seats. Acceptance of a contract will be contingent upon attorney review. The lowest bid is guaranteed to be equal to or less than the current ComEd rate. Residents may also opt out of the program. The benefits of participating in an electrical aggregation program is the receipt of renewable energy certificates, RECs, which reduces the village's carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emissions. Additionally, the RECs allow the village to claim electricity from a renewable resource, allowing us to maintain our EPA Green Community designation. Staff recommends approval of the contract provided by the lowest bidder, MC Squared, at tonight's meeting. Therefore, Mr. President, make a motion to approve a contract with the lowest bidder for the village's electrical aggregation program and allow the village manager to execute the necessary documents.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion, trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I stated, we all have the numbers at our seats here. MC Squared, they came in with a bid 1 year, 10% RECs, 2 years, 20% RECs, 3 years, 20% RECs. My personal feeling would be the 3-year, 20% RECs, but I'll kick it over to Director Matty and see what he has to say.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. As you can see, we also have Sharon in the audience if we have any questions for her directly, but it's pretty cut and dry here. She did seek bids or through an RFP process, and unfortunately at this time there's only one bidder that supplied us with any information here. Based upon these results, one thing that when the last time we had this conversation, we're currently at only 5% RECs. So we didn't think we were going to get any better than that, but actually as of today's bids that came in, these are actually a little bit better than we thought they were going to be. So based upon this, with not having any other bidders out there, and we've had a pretty good relationship with MC Squared, I think that we should probably go with the 3-year renewal process on this with the 20% regs.
Thank you. Sharon, I'm going to ask you to step up and say a few words for us, if you don't mind.
I liked your baseball team, so those are my few words. It was great. But thank you for letting me enjoy that. We did expect to get just 5% RECs today, and the offer just came in for 2 years, but we talked to Chuck Sutton and said, you're kind of interested in 3 years, and I'll give a little shout out to some staff here. He mentioned some names. I've enjoyed working with the village for many years. It's been a long time, good relationship, so yes, we'll offer the 3 years, and it's quadruple the 5% you currently have, which over 1 year, that offsets 8.5 million pounds of coal burn. Hard to imagine that, but I mean, it's meaningful. So that's all I have to say.
Thank
Other
you,
than
Sharon.
thank you.
Comments from the board? Trustee Lautner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just a clarification, I mean, this is a no-brainer, I think, but the question I have, has there been any negative feedback from any residents at all? Any issues at all that we've experienced?
What, Sharon?
Usually when the letters initially go out, I'll get 1 or 2 calls, or the staff will, if someone has a complicated question, like I have solar panels on the roof, what do I do? But in recent years, I haven't seen a lot, but you answer the phones here. Have you had much pushback or queries? Or
I think any time that we have to do a database refresh update, which I think we did every 2 years,
yes.
we get questions from the community, and I think this year there was 1 or 2. And so staff stays on the phone with them and explains the program until they're satisfied with the amount of information that we provide to them. Municipal electrical aggregation is complex as it is, and then having the program that we have with an offset to renewable energy certificates can be an additional complexity to the program. But staff is used to the phone calls. We don't get a lot. And I would say in the last 12 months, we had 1 or 2. Other than that, no huge, no displeasure about the program, just folks trying to understand how the program is designed.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Sharon.
Okay, lastly, Mr. President, we have the 2024 Park Road Improvement Contract Award. This agenda item seeks board approval to award the lowest bid to J. Narduli Concrete, Inc. for the 500 block of Park Road improvements. General background, the village engineer developed project plans and specifications in a contractor's bulletin request for the advertisement that was published in the IDOT bulletin for 2 consecutive weeks. The village held a bid opening and 5 bids were received. We have those numbers. J. Narduli Concrete, Inc. was the lowest bid at $551,527.25. Rick, am I reading that right? The engineer's estimate? I thought it was lower. I thought somewhere I read 610. No? Different. Okay. Correct. Okay. So Just so everybody else knows, the engineer's estimate mark was 610,000 what? No cents? Okay. Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, so it comes in under engineer's estimate. Nardulli's done work in our town before, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were the sub for Lindahl a couple of years on Meadowcrest and Woodside. They seem to work hard, and they're IDOT approved. So as part of this project, the following scope of work: replace all concrete curbs, including island, in full aprons with the project within the project location, rehabilitate deteriorated storm sewer and sanitary sewer structures, grind off the top layer of asphalt, spot repair poor subbase, install the asphalt leveling and surface material, sod is needed, and pavement markings. $528,000 is included in fiscal year 24-25's budget in the motor fuel tax fund 270-70-80100. Reserves in the MFT fund will cover the overage. Staff recommends accepting the lowest bid from J. Nardulli Concrete, Inc. for $551,527.25. Therefore, Mr. President, make a motion to accept the lowest bid from J. Nardulli Concrete, Inc. in the amount of $551,527.25 and to authorize the village manager to execute the necessary contract documents.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan?
Yeah, I previously stated my opinion, so.
Okay, any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on, Finance Committee, Trustee Lautner.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Tonight's financial report for the first 3 months of the fiscal year ending on April 30, 2025. Fiscal year-to-date general fund revenue is at $2,615,252, which is 22.3% of the annual budget, and it's $690,806 higher than last year. And that's primarily due to the timing of the property tax receipts. Property tax receipts are at $643,719, greater than last year. The second installment bills were not due until December of last year. This year's the second installment bills returned to a typical due date of August 1st, as we can all attest. Other local taxes are lower by $43,858, or almost 19%, and that's due to the timing of the cable franchise fee payments. Intergovernmental receipts are up $74,921, or 6.8% from last year. Sales tax and income tax continues to trend higher, while state use tax, and personal property replacement tax are lower. Licenses and registration fees are essentially flat compared to the prior year, and permit receipts are at $26,251, or about 20.5% lower than the prior year. Charges for services are at $10,692, or 4.4% higher than last year, and that's due to ambulance service receipts. Fine revenue is at $8304, or 27.3% higher than last year, and our miscellaneous revenue is at $23,972, or a little over 20% greater than last year due to increased interest income. The total general fund expenditures of $2,492,078 is at 22.7% of the annual budget, and $383,956, or 18.2% greater than last year. The increase is primarily due to the police pension contribution, which is recorded as property tax receipts are received. And most importantly, all departments at this point are within our budget expectations. And that concludes the finance report for the first quarter of this fiscal year, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Any comments for Trustee Lautner? Seeing none, we'll move on to other reports. Village Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have some just brief information regarding the April 2025 consolidated election. Persons seeking information about the process and requirements for candidates seeking election to the offices that are up for election this coming April of 2025 should consult the candidate guide for the consolidated election, which can be found on the Illinois State Board of Elections website, which is elections.il.gov. Further questions regarding the documents that are required to be filed by a candidate for the election should be directed to the Illinois State Board of Elections or to an attorney of the candidate's choosing. And the website and contact information can also be found on our website. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Village Treasurer. Commercial Revitalization, Trustee Zara.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 5 items to report on and then 2 items for action and 1 for discussion. This summer, the village held an in-person public engagement workshop and conducted an online survey to gather input for the branding and identity plan. The village's consultant SPAN is now developing a brand strategy plan based on the feedback received with the community, which we discussed tonight. The village received a $175,000 grant from the Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways as part of its Invest in Cook initiative. The grant will help fund the village's preliminary engineering for the Grange Road traffic safety improvements from Richmond Avenue to Woodlawn Avenue. The proposed Grange Road traffic safety improvements were recommended in the village's 2023 Village Market Streetscape Improvement Plan. The village also received $180,000 in statewide planning and research funds through the Illinois Department of Transportation for planning study for 31st Street. The plan will recommend transportation and streetscape improvements to improve safety for all roadway users, enhance the image of the corridor, and spur additional private investment on 31st Street and in the community at large. The planning process is anticipated to begin in 2025. The village is accepting applications for the new facade and property revitalization program, which will assist property and business owners who aim to enhance the external appearance of their properties. In order to be eligible, a building must be used for commercial purposes and must be located within one of the village's TIF and business districts. Visit the village's website for more information. Stay up to date on what's happening in the Grange Park by attending the village's Commercial Revitalization Committee meetings. The committee meets regularly to discuss how the village can best support new and existing businesses and enhance the commercial area in town. Check the calendar page on the village's websites for upcoming meetings. So my first item that's up for discussion and action involves the first grant that we received, so congratulations on staff for this. The village applied for and was awarded a $175,000 grant through Cook County's Invest in Cook program, administered by the Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways for the Grange Road Traffic Safety Improvements Project. This will allow the village to undertake preliminary engineering for traffic and geometric improvements along the Grange Road. The total cost for preliminary engineering is estimated at $350,000, and additional funds are budgeted in the Village Market TIF District to support the program. 35 project applications were selected for the 2024 Invest in Cook Grant Program, so congratulations on that. Staff recommends approval of the resolution authorizing execution of the IGA with Cook County for preliminary engineering for the Grange Road traffic safety improvements. I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Village of LaGrange Park and the Cook County for preliminary engineering costs for the LaGrange Road traffic safety improvements.
Motion second.
Second.
Discussion, Trustee Zora.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like this is a no-brainer. It's great that we got this grant, and I think we need to move forward with this.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing that, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. The second item up for discussion and action at the July 9th, 2024 meeting, the Commercial Revitalization Committee reviewed and recommended approval of a property revitalization program grant request. The application from Hop District Brewing Company, located at 23 East 31st Street, includes the installation of a replacement garage door composed of aluminum and glass paneling on the east facade of the building facing Meadowcrest. The proposed garage door is intended to enhance safety and beautify the property facade, which is visible from both Meadowcrest as well as 31st Street. The committee was unanimous in its recommendation that the village board approve the application. A summary of the grant application is included, and with this project, the total cost was $12,468, and the reimbursement is $6,234. I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance approving a property revitalization grant agreement by and between the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois, and Bev Masters, LLC.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second discussion, Trustee Zora.
Thank you. I was in attendance that night, and I want to say there were other issues, not just besides aesthetics, but there were safety issues because the door is original, and they were concerned that things would fail and could injure people. So this was also a safety issue, not just aesthetics, and I think we should approve this.
Any other comments from the board? Trustee Lautner.
I was surprised to see at the condition of these doors, a real safety issue, so I'm glad they're doing something about it.
Trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, I support this. It'll look nice in the neighborhood. As long as we're on the subject of safety, though, I'd still like to know when that wheel stop's gonna get put in by the handicap spot.
That's true, yes.
Talking safety, it's been 2 months since I brought it up, so still waiting.
Okay, we'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Trustee Caputo, anything?
No, I agree with everyone too. I think, like Jamie's, trustee, Zara said, it's not only, an appearance thing, it's old, it's a safety issue. I was there the other day, I'm like, God forbid the thing were to lose control, fall down and hurt someone. I think, it's a necessity and it'd be more appealing, when the garage is down, driving through the community as well.
Great, thank you. Megan, call the roll?
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zara?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
And the final item is for discussion only. In 2017, the village implemented a tax increment financing district and business development district to promote investment in the 31st Street Barnesdale area. In order to establish a vibrant mixed-use district, the TIF development plan recommends providing resources for streetscaping to improve aesthetics, safety, and accessibility of the area. Implementing these types of public improvement projects can help create a more conducive environment for new development, as the improvements demonstrate that the public sector is willing to invest in the area. Such public improvements can also motivate existing building owners to improve their properties. In order to take a proactive and strategic approach to planning for public improvements along 31st Street, the village applied for the statewide planning and research grant last spring. These federal funds, administered through a grant by the Illinois Department of Transportation, are used to support planning activities throughout the state. The village was recently notified that its proposed 31st Street Corridor Transportation Plan has been included in IDOT's 2025 Transportation Planning Work Program. The SRP grant will pay for 80% of the $225,000 estimated project cost, with the village responsible for $20,000 matched, $45,000 local. Economic development funds are available to support the project. Staff is in the process of developing an agreement with IDOT for the 31st Street Corridor Transportation Plan and is seeking the village board's feedback on the attached preliminary scope of services for this project. The proposed study area encompasses the entire portion of 31st Street within the village, including the 31st Street Barnesdale TIF District and Business Development Districts, and the 31st Street LaGrange Road and 31st Street Maple Business Development Districts. And again, this is for discussion only.
Do you want to start us off?
Do you, Derek or Maggie, do you want to say
Maggie?
anything about this?
Staff has prepared a preliminary scope of services for this planning study and is seeking feedback. I can highlight some of the key goals of the plan and also some of the ways in which it's a little bit different than what we undertook at the Village Market Streetscape Improvement Plan a few 2 or 3 years ago. The goal of the 31st Street Transportation or the Corridor Transportation Plan, it is to improve safety through many means, including intersection enhancements, roadway upgrades, right-of-way improvements, and those may be safety-related and aesthetic-related. As we learned through the Village Market Streetscape Improvement Plan process, there are a lot of traffic calming measures that are also aesthetically pleasing. More street trees, landscaping, pedestrian-focused enhancements. Those are going to make it a more walkable environment, and traffic does slow down. So we'll be looking at a variety of streetscape elements, but really the study is rooted in evaluating first the roadway conditions, crash data, so looking at the statistics of incidents in that study area, and then also conducting community engagement activities that are going to allow the village to hear from residents, business owners, other stakeholders within the study area so that we can get a strong understanding of what the community would like to see in terms of improvements along that corridor. So it's a different name than the Village Market Study, but for the last several years we've been preparing to take on 31st Street. We think what we learned through the village market process is that safety is paramount, and we expect that we're going to get a lot of similar feedback in terms of priorities. And so we've adjusted the scope of services to focus on safety first, but we do expect the planning study is still going to incorporate those streetscape and more aesthetic elements as well. We're just going to prioritize a little bit differently in the way that we talk about the goals of the plan. I did want to highlight, we've kind of turned up the volume on the community engagement with this proposal for this planning study. Included in the preliminary scope of services is calling out not only the public kickoff meeting that we would host, as well as a community survey, but we'd like to include in this scope 2 specific focus group meetings to bring the business community together, hear from property owners and business owners within those business districts and TIF district. And then second, to talk with partners, regional partners, and stakeholders to make sure that we're addressing all of the opportunities that exist as this is a regional corridor, and making those connections. So that means bringing in the forest preserves, Brookfield Zoo, our municipal neighbors to the east and the west. We want to make sure we're providing for connectivity that makes sense and is cohesive. So we're looking forward to any feedback that the board may have on this scope, lessons learned from the Village Market Streetscape Improvement Plan, anything that you'd like us to bring back and provide some enhancements to this. But that's just a little bit about the goals of the project and how we plan to go about it.
Maggie, I think, I look at what we're doing with Brookfield at the Maple intersection there, and I think that's a great start because I travel 31st Street every day, and in rush hour, it's as bad as LaGrange Road. And safety is an issue down there. So I like seeing it getting started with that corner with Brookfield, and we're going to do a nice job there. So that'll just extend west then along 31st Street there to LaGrange Road. Great. Any comments from the board? Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize if I missed it, but does the scope include parking considerations?
I think we would want to include overall circulation through the study area, which can include parking. That's certainly something we can bring up in the scope. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it should incorporate that as well. I didn't know if I missed it, but definitely.
Okay.
Just one more question about the parking. So if we include the parking in this study, we don't have to do the separate parking study for that area, correct?
We are
still
wrapping
going
up
through it?
a very targeted parking
Okay.
study for just those 3 blocks between the IHB and Kemen.
Okay.
But we certainly could look at parking more broadly through this corridor, as the study area that's proposed includes the full extent of 31st Street throughout the village, as well as Barnesdale, because that is part of the TIF and Business Development District.
Okay, thank you. All I had to report.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Torres. Thank you, Maggie and Julia. Moving on, village engineer. Our village attorney.
I have no report this evening.
Okay, motion to approve committee and collectors report as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, next up is, we did public participation once. Does you guys are here, does anybody want to say anything to the board real quickly? Please step up to the mic.
My name is Nick Michaels. I'm a resident of LaGrange Park. And I wanted to say, that was fantastic. That presentation, made me proud of where we're from. And I kind of agreed with the trustees were talking about with the first 2. And maybe you throw a 5th house in the rows, and that represents the 5 families, and keep the rows theme. But I'll email you guys on that. Yeah. Trustee Caputo had said something about the fire department providing a splash pad. One of those events was with the Neighbors Helping Neighbors that took place this last weekend, and it was absolutely fantastic. Pat Reichel was the one that reached out and coordinated that, and it was really, really great. I didn't want to take anything away from the kids when they were speaking about the TIF. I don't necessarily know everything about the TIF, but thank you guys for letting Little League here. And I take a look at these kids, and my paradigm is with that Little League kind of scope with everything. And the one thing that I've kind of picked up with running it the last 3 years is that for as communal as we are, we are kind of segregated by the schools of Ogden, Brook Park, and Forest. And so you see these group of kids out here, and they all kind of represent LaGrange Park, and sport brings them all together. And again, because I'm so involved with sports, I hear about the TIF and, oh, build a gym, and now these kids can all come together and go do that. But then when these kids were talking, it kind of it hit me where the young gentleman Mason had said, I'm from Brook Park. And so it's not even sports that brings these kids together, it's the arts too. And so I'll put my thoughts into, more concise for the next meeting. But if you guys could take that into consideration, that sports is this melting pot for our community, it would be fantastic if there was a gym. My son plays basketball, and we find ourselves going to Cicero and Berwyn in the city, in the South Burbs. And if a community lacks a YMCA, the Park District is I think, keeping kids busy and probably keeping crime down in some of these areas. And not that crime's a huge issue here, but I think a communal place, I mean, it's great to go to LaGrange, but there's nothing that bothers me more than my son winning, having LaGrange Lions on his chest where it could be LaGrange Park Roses or something. I don't know. That's it. So sorry. I figured if I stayed here this long, I might as well say something. So thank you.
Nick, I worked with you to get the kids here.
I know.
Yeah, thank you, and I love your shirt.
I'm slight, like this is like a power trip here where I was expressing, hearing Mr. President, if I could get my board to show the respect that yours does, I would be doing my job way better.
Well, thank you, and that's very kind of you, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So I want to thank, again, President DeCipio. Thank you for listening to the kids that came today. I do want to clarify that the Park District had a lot of investment in what happened here tonight from all aspects. With the LaGrange Park Little League being here, this organization has provided more than $90,000 in capital improvement funding for us since 2022. Their home fields are Haynesworth. We support all those kids. We support everything that they've done, and they're a great partner for the community. They really do bring a lot of industry, a lot of excitement, and a lot of money here into town, and they've done more. They've gone above and beyond to improve the facilities that they use for the entire community. So they've improved every park. They've touched every park with the exception of Beach Oak Park. But every park that's got a ball field, their contribution has improved, which improves the property values. The branding, that was my past life. We participated in the branding, the initial branding study. So looking at that, awesome. I completely echo 1 and 2. We're watching that process closely because we too are going to go through a rebrand, but we want to make sure that we take the lead from the village. So we were also here for that. We were here before that for the special meeting to just get an update on the water. And then it was a perfect storm with last week. District 102 did pull our permit in our reservation for our Footlight Players performance on Wednesday of last week. We went through the proper channels. Everything was good to go. There was a scheduling issue, so now we have an entire performance that we don't have a home for. And it looks like we will be going outside of LaGrange Park to host Footlight Players, which is going to have anywhere from 60 to 80 cast members. We've had as many as 120 cast members. The facilities in this area do not accommodate that number of kids. So those children hearing that news from their parents last week, seeing the reports, seeing the patch article from the last village meeting, we've been fielding phone calls left and right. What can we do? So understanding that we were discussing today that there was going to be a 31st Street Corridor Transportation Plan discussion with the TIF district, I said, listen, if you want to say something, this would be a good place to go. So that's where they came from. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. You bring up a great point. I want to thank you for being here and President Cordy, because we're here to serve our community, and that includes the other municipal authorities such as the Park District and the library. So we want to work hand in hand with you and make this a community thing. And having the kids out here tonight, thanks to Nick's efforts, really emphasizes that and shows what happens when a community comes together and you have that excitement and enthusiasm and you see the smile on those kids' faces. That's what makes it all worthwhile for all that we do. So thank you for being here, President. Thank you, and we'll work together down the road.
I do warn you, though, that President Cordy is going to be requiring me to call him president in all our meetings now, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, well. Step up to the mic, President McCordy, please step up to the mic.
The championship game that these guys were in, I go to the game, the community support was amazing. These families, they had no kids
played Naperville. How big's Naperville? Right? Like, it's huge. We had 700 people in the outfield. Now, my wife had a friend on the other team. We lost. Like, it was a 4-0 game. When the game ended, like, people formed like a teepee for the kids to run through, and like the kids were ecstatic, and it was like such a wonderful reflection of our community. So much so that my wife's friend on Naperville had to say, like, hey, you guys know you lost the game, right? But the joy, it really, like, it was like, it brought me to, the loss brought me to tears to see like everybody out there to support these kids, and like, it didn't matter that they didn't win, it's that they got that far in the community. And Haynesworth's like that. I mean, a Friday or Saturday night on Haynesworth, there'll be people from all over that come. It makes me proud. I love this place. I want to come to more of these meetings.
Well, you know, there's a lot of hidden gems in our community, and Little League is one of them. The Park District's one. The VFC is another one. I mean, there's some places in our community that people will get a chance to touch, but they need to be aware of because these are valuable to our residents. And so what you did with the Little League and bringing those kids out here tonight was so good to see those kids happy and be a part of our community. So thank you, Nick. Okay. With that, we're going to move into any news business. Seeing none, we're going to go into closed session. Megan, call the roll. Oh, Trustee Lautner, make the motion, please. There you go.
I'd like to make a motion to move into closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2C1.
Second. Okay. We're getting good here. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Caputo?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr.
Okay,
President.
we will move into executive session.
Yeah, this wasn't in the electronic version.
Oh, was it?
No.
Okay, so it was on the agenda?